Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.
Welcome to the podcast. You are now tuned in to this episode of our podcast. Today, we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. And now, please welcome your host.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And we're back. You know, being old and going to a nursing home is an ordeal because you have to find a home that meets your religious needs, your dietary needs, meets the needs of physical needs. So it's hard to find a place that still has all of them. I was very impressed. I've been to the Haym Solomon Nursing Home and Rehabilitation Center in Verzano a few times, some events, and they're able to combine the latest technology and great medical care, but also taking care of the spiritual needs as well, which is so important. Our guest right now has been the rabbi of the Haym Solomon Nursing and Rehab facility for over 20 years, and Rabbi Chaim Baruch Wechsler joins us. So welcome to the program. Thank you for being part of our show.
Thank you, Zev.
Thank you. Now, let me ask you this question. Now, Haym Solomon Nursing Home, I understand it began as an orphanage after World War II. Tell us about the origins. I'm curious.
Well, Haym Solomon Home began after World War II, but the name goes back to George Washington. There was a Polish immigrant that helped George Washington finance his needs for the American Army when they were fighting the British. So that name was chosen as a place for Holocaust survivors that were orphans, and some of them were elderly people, a place that they could feel at home to satisfy their needs following the Holocaust.
So how did it morph from being on the Lower East Side to ending up in Bensonhurst, and really, you're not really taking care of orphans, you're taking care of more of the elderly. So when did that change take place?
That changed in the late 1950s. There was a focus that in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, in those days, there was a large Jewish population, and they were getting old, and they felt there was a need to focus on Brooklyn. The demographics were changing from the Lower East Side. People were moving to parts of Brooklyn, so they decided to look for a place, and they found a place along the, I shouldn't say the beach, but the water in Bensonhurst that would fit that need of a place that people would feel at home as they aged. So they chose Bensonhurst as a place that they could focus on due to the demographics of the Lower East Side. People were moving, so they decided to use Bensonhurst, Brooklyn.
By the way, I've been there, and you're right. It's not a beach, but they have gorgeous views of the Atlantic Ocean. Which is nice.
And
when
the
you're looking
Verzano
out.
Bridge. Yeah, so that was not there. If I'm not mistaken, the Verzano Bridge was built in the 60s, but the view of the ocean is beautiful, gorgeous, and the air sometimes is delicious as you go outdoors and you face the ocean over there.
I think that helps you in recovery if you're in a place where you look out to the water. It's right. It's spiritually, it's good to look at the water. And I know they have state-of-the-art facility. There's really a wonderful, wonderful place for people to go. So I want to focus on the spiritual side because I've seen the equipment and they're state-of-the-art, and they're, very well known for taking care of patients. But also part of the whole process is dealing spiritually and dealing with kosher needs, but also religious needs. And you have a mixed bag. You have people who are very religious, people not religious at all, people from not even non-Jewish backgrounds. As the rabbi, how do you navigate that?
Well, when a person comes here, I study the information of the background of that individual, both medical and whatever other information, family background, and I try to visit them within the first day or so that they're here, and try to get a feeling what their needs are, how much interaction they need, how to address them based upon their profession as a rabbi, as a Rebbe, a doctor, a first name basis, just a general name basis, to see what their how we could focus on getting them back to their one self.
So as you
And it's
screen, you interview each individual, so you want to see what their needs are from a spiritual point of view.
correct. So I'll ask them, try to get a background, how affiliated they are. They're not affiliated. Try to see how we can be sensitive to their needs in a new environment.
No, and you work with the family, you work with the patients as well. So you make them
Well,
feel at home.
so if there's a family, we reach out to the family. If there's no family, we become their family.
Do you find that a nice amount or a certain percentage of the elderly don't really have a lot of family that visit them on a regular basis and look to you
Yes, it
and the
happens a
religious
lot
staff?
of times. Yeah, it happens a lot of times that they don't have anybody. So
So you
we have
become
to
their
subject
family
them.
in a sense.
Exactly.
Now, one of the things that may highlight, of course, is the fact you have a daily minyan, you have Shabas services. I'm sure holidays must be a big thing as well. So tell us about some of that aspect of how you deal with the religious needs, let's say on the Shabbos and also on the holidays throughout the year.
So before Shabbos, I try to make it my business to visit every single resident in the building. Now, as visiting, see what the needs are. We give out newspapers as the Modia, the Ated, the Jewish Press, the Hasidic newspapers. Some people want an English newspaper. Um, and then sometimes we even have non-Jewish people that are interwoven and they want to be addressed also. We do that and we try to give out the schedule of Shabbos, try to explain to them, if you can't go to shul, we'll supply you with a Seder and a Chumash to be at your bedside. Someone will try to come visit you or make Kiddush for you. So we try to make sure that they're not, and we have a place for them to light candles. Sometimes I have to personally interact with someone that doesn't have family. So I would light candles with them. They should feel like they're at home again. So we try our best for Shabbos in advance, and that they should enjoy as if there's their own home. So they shouldn't feel that they're lost or everything is nothing to do.
Do you find sometimes people say, Rabbi, I didn't grow up religious, but I want to learn more? Do they come
Sure,
to you for guidance?
we have that quite often. We have that quite often, and a lot of times we see growth of people bringing back the youth years when they may have been religious or their parents and they drifted. So we tried to make them feel like they're going back in time and going back to their roots to feel comfortable.
You ever have a situation where people come in who are anti-religious and you're able to reach out to them?
Sure. I mean, I would tell a story. There was a person that was totally removed from religion, didn't want to hear about anything. And I tell over a story that I told this, I made an announcement. Please join us for Mincha services, do the spiritual therapy before the religious, before regular therapy. So the person came and they went to do therapy, and then the therapy department pages me to come. What did you do with this resident? Suddenly he's doing great therapy. So I said, I just told him to pray. And then the family came down and said, Rabbi, what did you do to my relative? I said, I didn't do nothing. I just asked him to come to pray. And this person didn't want to hear about prayer, nothing. And suddenly they used to come every single day and their therapy, was successful. So there was a beautiful story there. That was one of the stories that we had. We had another story of a
I think
gentleman.
that person, wasn't he a fan or related to Ringo Starr in some capacity?
Yes, he related to Ringo. He had affiliations with Ringo Starr
From the
and
Beatles.
Ringo Starr, the Beatles, and he didn't want anything to do with religion. And it was ironic that this person, enjoyed the place, used to come to pray every single day. We had another person that was religious and then drifted, had a very bad skiing accident, and his friends came and they said, You'll never walk. And I went to this person and said, Do me a favor. I want you to try to participate in services either in the morning or the afternoon, and I guarantee you'll walk. So the guy says, All right. So he came, and suddenly 2, 3 months later, he started walking, and the friend said, What happened over here? So he said, I used to come to daven. And the friend said, What? What? So I said, Look, if God wants, he'll make miracles. And thank God he walked out of the place and he walked home.
That's a great story. Our guest is Rabbi Chaim Baruch Wechsler. He's the official rabbi at the Haym Solomon Nursing Rehab Center located in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. And he has smicha from a palm of Torah Vadas. And as you heard, he interacts and gives individual care to each patient. Should I also call you a miracle working rabbi?
No, I can't do that because I don't
You did
perform
miracles. I
miracles.
just heard two stories of where
I'm just a messenger of Hashem. Hashem creates the miracles. I can't create a miracle. I don't have that power.
well, you're able to change life. What are some of the challenges that you have being a rabbi? And I understand you're on call 24/7, so you must get calls at all hours of the day and night.
I have all kinds of calls. We had a call once that a person's on strike. They don't want to eat. And so I tried to figure out. So I had to come down and figure out that this resident had what's called a tanas chalom, which is a bad dream. And he was fasting. So I tried to explain to him, you shouldn't fast. I'll fast if anything. And so the nurses were shocked. And they said, from now on, if you have such a story, we'll understand what to do. And so thank God the person consented to eat, So those are one of the stories that I sometimes have, wild stories that I have to, address and figure out sometimes.
Now, I know that this, one, of course, related to the spiritual need, of course, is kosher and the food. How's the food, by the way? How's the
Food is
certification?
very good. It's we use only top quality food, and it's under the strict supervision of Rabbi Aaron Teitelbaum, known as the Nir Batarov, and he has standards that are to none. He's very, very particular, and our kitchen is trained to make sure that they follow all the protocols of this rabbi, making sure that all the products are under his personal supervision or another supervision that he accepts, and we're not allowed to substitute anything. And our kitchen, you can lick the floor. It is immaculate. It has the highest standards of cleanliness and kosher, and no short corners. Only the best food is served. So it's very tasty. It fits all the dietary needs. It's made very appetizing and clean. That's one of the things we're very particular about.
I spoke to Chaim Lipschitz, and again, I actually did a couple of broadcasts. I don't know if you're aware, Rabbi Wechsler, at the facility, and I think that one time was a Holocaust Survivors event, which is very nice, and
Right.
It was a beautiful room, and the views, I remember, very large and spacious. And Chaim Lipschitz wants everybody to feel at home there, and it's a talent because you have to balance lots of different things: the spiritual, the physical, the facilities, and you also have to work the time schedule. So do you ever find the conflict where somebody has to go daven and therapy? How do you work around that?
So we try. We have to look at an individual basis. Sometimes a person says, I'm here for therapy and don't worry about my davening. That's their choice. We try to tell the therapist, is it possible? Our therapists are very cooperative. So it depends. Each individual has their needs, and we have to work with what they want, and it usually doesn't conflict. We don't have a problem with that. Now, the only other thing I wanted to point out is that mentioning earlier that the ownership was created by two Holocaust survivors. Chaim Lipschitz's mother should be well, Olga Lipschitz, and her former partner, who's not alive, Sam Panett. These were two Holocaust survivors, and they were very particular. They have to have everything, cleanliness, the best staff, the best everything. So when it came to therapy, if the therapist understands the sensitivity of services of davening, it's never a problem. It depends if the person, feels that they would like to do therapy after a meal or before a meal, early in the morning. Each one has an individual need.
Now, you mentioned the Holocaust survivors, and that was formed by Olga Lipschitz and Mr. Panett, Holocaust survivors. Are there residents that are Holocaust survivors? What percentage would you say are?
Now it's very small because the population keeps on declining. So we have, I would say, maybe 10% is Holocaust survivors. Unfortunately, each and every year, that number keeps on going down. We have residents that are over 100 years old over here. But, the Holocaust population is declining because those people are aging. But we've had over the years, the 20 years, we have many Holocaust survivors. We try as much as possible to make their life as comfortable as possible.
No, certainly, and it's the care that's really the difference. I think you can have people live a longer time if they get good care, and especially if people don't have family visiting them often. So you and the staff really become family. That's an important thing,
Right.
which helps them survive and thrive and get bell. Again, you have 100-year-old residents and more, which is very, very impressive. Now, I want to get back to the holiday times. Is it true that you actually have live kaparis before?
Yes,
Before
I'll tell a story. I bring a male, which is a rooster, and I bring a female, which is a hen. And now one year, I go around the place, and then I take it to a shochet. Very interesting story. So I took it to a shochet that night, and I went with my own family, and I give the shochet the 2 chickens, and he says to me, kosher, kosher, it's okay. And then I took another one for my family. He says, that one's no good. So I said, if the shochet said to me that the 2 chickens were okay, that I used the whole day, that means we did a right job because he was an honest person. So we bring live kaparas to the nursing home. And I forgot to mention, we also do tachlich. We bring live goldfish.
Oh, okay.
And we go around with a tank. And, people throw in a little breadcrumb or something.
So which is nice that they in other words, you make them feel, even if they can't go to these places, you're able to get them to do tashlich and
Right,
kaparit
so
as well. What
we
about,
do
you also
tashlich.
bring important rabbis or speakers or singers?
Well, we've had singers over the years, based upon holidays like Lag BaOmer or Hanukkah. It's hard to find a rabbi. The patients cannot always focus. We've had certain rabbis as residents over here, but as a personal matter, I don't know if I'm going to mention their names. We have rabbis occasionally that would come down to give what they call chiznik support, but we try as much as possible to leave it in house because it's hard to have the people interact a long time. But we have periodically a rabbi comes down.
now, I would assume that Pesach, the Seder, is like a highlight of the religious holidays throughout the year.
Yeah, sure.
Do you also have the non-Jewish residents? Do they also participate in the Seder?
Yeah, so let me explain to you. We have Seder, regular Seder, which I usually officiate or somebody else. And I have a story to tell over, and then the people have their own Seder. I have a story to tell over. We had a priest. We took care of his mother, and he decided to participate. And we come to the part,
Like,
and
pour your wrath on the non-Jews
right. So I said, Father, you know what
nations.
the word guy means? I said, no. He said, that doesn't mean a Gentile. It means a nation of terrorism. So he laughed and he said, I'm going to tell my co-priest and co-people in church what the real meaning of a goy means, a nation. So that was God sent to me to say the right thing. We were very close to each other, this priest and myself. So that's what we have. We have regular Siddharam, and we have. In fact, I forgot to mention, we also do mechiras chametz for the residents. I do a physical mechiras chametz on premises, and the residents watch it. And some of the residents sign off as a bezdin, and then we do the biur chametz following that. So the people have hands-on what a mechiras chametz is. So we do that on Erev Pesach. They really
Very nice.
enjoy that.
Let me ask you a question. This might be a strange question. Have you ever had a situation where a non-Jew who is a resident of the facility says, you know what, Rabbi, I enjoy what I see about you. I want to convert, become a Jew? Did it ever happen in 20 years?
Yes, it has happened.
It has happened?
So, yeah. But I told them we don't want new customers, and it's a very hard religion, and it's a whole big process, and it's not so simple. So I would suggest not to do it. So the person accepted it because it's a very complicated matter to convert someone. But we've had the story over the years that people may want to convert. They're like in Judaism. They may come to if they want to come to a Hanukkah, lighting thing, I have to let them come. If they want to come to a Seder, they're more than welcome. They may come to a Megillah reading, Purim. They come to the Sukkah sometimes. They may want to hear the shofar blowing. All these things, that they're more than welcome. I can't, say you're not allowed to participate, but I don't want to convert anybody.
No, so if they come to you and say, I like what I see, and I can imagine it's a very warm atmosphere at Haym Solomon. That's why I was wondering if anybody says, you know what, I want to become a Jew. And you said it happened, but you try to discourage me. I wonder, did anybody ever press you and say, I really want to go through it? I don't care what you're saying. I want to.
I tried it, but I told them I don't really, it's a very lengthy process and I don't really have the time and I don't want to recommend anybody. I don't know anyone that I would feel comfortable in the field. So I left it alone.
Now, you sound like you had some very interesting stories over the year. As we close out, any plans to write a book about your experiences?
People have basically joked about it, but I need a lot of time. Maybe one day I will.
All right, but it sounds like they're keeping you busy because you're on call 24/7
Yes,
at the Haym Solomon, and certainly it's nestled in Brooklyn, New York, and founded right after World War II as an orphanage. Now it's the Haym Solomon Nursing and Rehab Center, located in Benzos, right with a scenic view of the ocean. Really, a warm facility. So I want to thank you for joining us, Rabbi Chaim Baruch Wechsler, the official rabbi for 20 years plus at Haym Solomon. Thank you for being part of our show.
Okay, thank you, Zev, and have a good week.
Thank you for tuning in to
Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, the pulse beat of the Jewish community.
For continuous Jewish programs, TalklineNetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the TalklineNetwork.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Zev?
Yes, great job.